Kimi Antonelli is 19 years old and leading the Formula One World Championship. He took pole in Shanghai and won the Chinese Grand Prix, then dominated again at Suzuka. Mercedes holds a 45-point lead after 3 races, but the numbers behind their success reveal a story that should unsettle every garage. This is not just a hot streak, this is a revolution that changes everything we thought we knew about performance, and it starts with a secret buried deep inside the car. The gap from pole to last has exploded to 3.63 seconds per lap, nearly triple last season's spread. Mercedes unlocked a software advantage managing the 350 kilowatts motor generator unit that no rival has matched. McLaren runs identical hardware, yet trails by 0.8 seconds per lap due to different energy deployment. But here is what the paddock is not talking about. Ferrari is closer to Mercedes on race day than in qualifying, hinting at a hidden variable affecting the entire order. The real battle is fought in server rooms where code determines who pulls away on straights. What no broadcast covered is this: the team mastering energy management software will define the next decade of Formula One. The question is no longer who has the fastest driver, it is who wrote the best code, and that answer leads us directly into the invisible war deciding every lap. Mercedes wrote code in 2020 that changed Formula One. While every team received the same 350 kilowatts motor generator unit, only one garage understood how to deploy that energy without waste. The result is a gap that has nearly tripled, and it has nothing to do with horsepower. This is the invisible war fought in server rooms, and the winner controls the championship. But if software is the battleground, why does one rival sometimes look faster when it matters most? Super clipping happens when a battery empties before the braking zone, costing roughly 450 horsepower in the final 300 meters. Mercedes avoids this by spreading power evenly, while McLaren deploys energy in spikes and loses 0.3 seconds per straight. Suzuka data shows Mercedes applying electrical power 94% of the time through high-speed sectors versus McLaren's 78%. What the telemetry actually shows is Mercedes' code predicts corner exit speed 0.2 seconds earlier, and that is where this story gets complicated. The FIA cut qualifying recharge from 9 megajoules to 8, but Mercedes adapted within 48 hours. This is not a problem rivals solve with wind tunnel time. As the battle has shifted to a domain where gains are measured in code, not carbon fiber. But if Mercedes cracked the energy puzzle, why does Ferrari look stronger on race day? The answer reveals a software quirk costing them pole positions, starting with a single corner at Suzuka. Max Verstappen qualified out in Q1 at Melbourne, retired in China, and missed Q3 at Suzuka for the first time in nearly a decade. The 4-time world champion sits 9th, while Red Bull holds 6th with just 16 points after 3 races. This is their worst start in over 10 years, revealing a crisis deeper than bad luck. The RB22 is not just slow, it is a car built without the people who once made Red Bull untouchable. Adrian Newey left in early 2025, followed by 7 key architects of 4 straight titles. Yes, the RB22 was designed with 7 fewer senior engineers than the dominant RB19, meaning every aero decision had 30% less validation data. Straight line speed in China matches Ferrari at 332 kilometers per hour, but cornering speeds in Suzuka Sector 1 are 8 kilometers per hour lower than Mercedes. The data tells a completely different story. This is not an engine problem. It is a design philosophy locked in before testing. Inside Red Bull's garage, engineers run 2 parallel development paths, one for 2026, another for 2027. That signals they may have accepted this season is lost. Verstappen called the RB22 a midfield car, a blunt assessment from a driver accustomed to winning. But here is what the paddock is not talking about. If Red Bull's struggle stems from losing its technical brain trust, Ferrari faces a different puzzle entirely. And their Sunday strength hints at a software quirk hiding in plain sight. Ferrari is faster on race day than in qualifying, a contradiction defying Formula One norms. They trail Mercedes by 0.56 seconds on Saturday, but close to 0.53 seconds on Sunday. This pattern across 3 circuits points to software rewarding patience over aggression. Carlos Sainz described the issue. The car feels strong through corners, but power disappears when he opens the throttle. What no broadcast covered is this: the software is not broken, it is making a choice, costing Ferrari pole position. Suzuka data reveals the mechanism. A slide at spoon curve triggered power reduction on the following straight, costing 0.148 seconds from software interpreting throttle modulation as instability. Ferrari's code cuts power at 0.3 G lateral acceleration change versus Mercedes' 0.5 G threshold. This conservative setting protects the battery over a stint, but punishes qualifying pushes. Ferrari tested a patch in Japan reducing sensitivity by 15%, yielding their best Saturday performance. And that is where this story gets complicated. If Ferrari unlocks qualifying pace without sacrificing race reliability, the 45-point gap becomes vulnerable. But the challenge is predicting driver intent milliseconds before corner exit, requiring simulation data rivals gathered since January. Ferrari started later, and every 10th lost on Saturday compounds through the weekend. But if Ferrari's puzzle is software, another team faces a hardware crisis so severe it asks drivers to take hands off the wheel. That story begins with an unexpected vibration. Fernando Alonso took his hands off the wheel during the Chinese Grand Prix because the Aston Martin AMR26 shook so violently it threatened control. The two-time world champion should be fighting for points, not managing safety. After 3 races, Aston Martin has 0 points. The gap to the front grew by 2.29 seconds per lap versus 2025, a regression defying the sport's goal of closer racing. This is not a slump. This is a perfect storm of timing and technology. Aston Martin's wind tunnel opened in April 2025, 4 months after Ferrari and Mercedes began testing. Those months represented roughly 100 critical aero cycles the team missed. The Honda HRC power unit suffers severe shaking linked to the MGUK struggling to harvest energy. At Suzuka, the AMR26 was 20 to 30 kilometers per hour down on straights because the motor generator unit could not deploy power consistently. Honda admitted the unit runs near its limits, confirming no easy power gain exists. But here is what the paddock is not talking about. Inside the garage, engineers explore chassis stiffening to dampen shaking, a stopgap adding weight, but potentially getting Alonso into Q3. The financial stakes are severe. Finishing last could reduce prize money by millions. Yet the real story is whether a team can recover from a 4-month deficit where every 10th counts. And if Aston Martin fights hardware limitations, what about teams in the tight middle pack where half a second separates glory from obscurity? That battle for survival starts now. Alexander Albon fights for Williams, prioritizing mechanical grip, while Kevin Magnussen in the Haas chases straight line speed. These 5 teams are bunched within 1 second across 3 circuits. This tight pack is where the real war for survival is fought, because half a second means points or obscurity. James Vowles spoke about maximizing every upgrade dollar under the cost cap, forcing tough choices on limited resources. But here's what the paddock is not talking about. The battle for 4th in constructors is worth roughly $20 million in prize money, making every 10th financially critical. Racing Bulls shows the most consistent race pace in this tier, thanks to Red Bull power unit integration. What the data actually shows is effective upgrades brought to Miami could jump a team 2 or 3 positions overnight. For Williams fans, historical resilience offers hope that a surprise points finish in Miami's high-speed sections is within reach. And that is where this story gets complicated. If the middle pack fights for scraps with incremental upgrades, what about the team starting from 0? Cadillac arrived in January with Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas running Ferrari power units while building their own for 2029. Their methodical approach might be the blueprint for how new teams enter the sport, starting with admitting what they do not know. But to understand why Cadillac's patience could be their greatest weapon, we must look beyond 2026 to regulation stability defining the next era. Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas race for data at Cadillac, not wins. The new team runs Ferrari components while building their General Motors engine for 2029. What no broadcast covered is this. Cadillac runs 20% more sensor suites than rivals, collecting information on tire behavior and energy deployment that will shape their 2027 car. This is not a team playing catch-up. This is a team playing chess while others play checkers. Zach Brown stated teams investing in simulation now will reap rewards in 2027, validating Cadillac's patient approach. The 2027 regulations are evolutionary, meaning software solutions found this year compound into multi-year advantages. Mercedes leads by 45 points, but if Ferrari unlocks their qualifying patch gaining 0.2 seconds per lap, the title fight could reignite. Inside Ferrari, engineers test that update for Miami, and that is where this story gets complicated. The real question is which team builds the foundation to dominate the next era? Cadillac's data collection, Red Bull's rebuild, Ferrari's software chase, and Mercedes' advantage all point to one truth. The fastest car is not just about driver or code, it is about the organization balancing immediate performance with long-term vision. So we return to our opening question: is the fastest car the one with the best driver or the best code? The answer reveals who will define the next decade. The answer is neither driver nor code alone. It is the organization balancing both, adapting faster than rules change. The 3.63 second spread mirrors the 3.64 second gap from 2017, a season where the field closed by roughly 1 second. History suggests the midfield will tighten by summer, but teams solving the software puzzle early hold a compounding advantage. This is not just a championship fight. It is a filter separating those who saw the future from those still reacting. Mercedes leads by 45 points, but Ferrari's rumored patch could unlock 0.2 seconds per lap before Miami. Red Bull's rebuild and Aston Martin's crisis mean the order behind remains volatile. Kimi Antonelli's rise inspires, but trophies are won by engineers iterating in simulators, not just drivers on track. The real story was never about lap time, it was about which team turned uncertainty into a weapon, and that battle extends beyond this season. The next chapter begins in Miami, where upgrades will reshuffle the pack. But the weight of this moment lingers. In a sport measured in thousands, the biggest gap of 2026 is not on the stopwatch. It is between teams that built for tomorrow while others fought for today. And that difference will echo long after the final checkered flag.